Jim, this question for the late night drive-thru comes from Matthew in Niagara Falls, Canada. If the WWE could get Ronda Rousey away from the UFC, how would you book her? A one-time attraction? Like Brock? Would you keep her undefeated? So, Jim, what do you think? How would you book Ronda Rousey?
Well, but here's the thing. It would depend. Getting away from the UFC, would it be a one-time deal, or is she done with the UFC and now I have the opportunity to use her on an ongoing basis? These questions would have to be answered. But as a overall, if I had Ronda Rousey, I would present her as exactly who she is. And play on her. Everybody in the world knows who Ronda Rousey is and what she's all about, etc. And I would find someone, a female, on my roster that could be so despicable, that could have so much heat, and she doesn't even have to be the best worker. Now, especially if it's a one-time deal. Now, if it's going to be an ongoing thing where I get Ronda Rousey maybe for 3 or 4 pay-per-views, let's say, then in the first case, then I would put her against my best worker, because that best worker's job would be to get her over where she looked like Bret Hart and Tom McGee, right? And that way the people would be exposed to see her fucking dominant and look good in a pro wrestling ring and win with that goddamn arm bar. And then we go on and do business. If it was a one-time thing, I would get the hottest heel woman, regardless whether she was a wrestler, whether she was a valet, or whether do they even have those anymore? I don't fucking know. Whatever the fuck she was that people wanted to see murdered. And I would figure out some way for them to be together. And maybe that would even be a 2-show program. Maybe she would be in the corner if it was Sunny, if it was Tammy Fitch in Knoxville, or something of that ilk. Ronda Rousey would debut being in the corner of the babyface and opposite of, and then they do the mixed tag the next time. It would depend on how much access you had to her, how long a period of time, how much money she was making. So there's no set way to book her, but you would obviously play to her strengths and make her have a huge impact, especially on television. And if it was a multiple show deal, especially in her first appearance, where it wouldn't even need to be an angle, wouldn't even need to be a program. Just seeing her wrestle would be enough. So you wouldn't want to shoot yourself in the foot by, if you had her 4 times, don't blow your fucking wad in the first week. So it's hard to answer, but along those general lines, Brian, do you have any follow-up questions? I presented about 87 scenarios there.
Okay, so it's a one-time thing. What do you do? One time, how do you bring her in for a one-time and maximize the potential gate, audience, everything else?
Well, I think in that case, then you get your heel that is as hot as possible and have a match. And, hopefully you keep it short but intense. You put all of her trademarks in there. You try to get – if it was going to be that way, I would try to have a more physically dominant heel, hopefully a bigger girl, somebody that she could engender some sympathy with on a visual level, because Ronda Rousey's pretty intimidating, especially with that look. She's pretty intimidating. And I mean, until you know, see, you can't just say I got an angle here, and until you know the person or the people that would be involved, you don't really know the best way to put it together. But I think that anybody, I mean, if sooner or later she's going to do WrestleMania just because her friends are wrestlers and she likes wrestling, I think they would be ill-served to have it with Stephanie McMahon. I think they ought to have it somebody on the roster.
And then in terms of her actual in-ring work, she's not a wrestler, but she's a wrestling fan. But what would you do to separate her from the pack and make sure you maximize her best possible assets in the ring? Do you have her work short matches? Is it just go for the armbar? What would you do?
Just tell her, we know you're a fan. Don't do anything you've seen on our TV that you've never done in the octagon. We're going to work our match around you because you're the draw. So they would have as close to as the opponent could perform a worked grappling MMA style, the UFC, octagon, cage, whatever contest, instead of all of a sudden Ronda's grabbing a fucking headlock, the girl's shooting her off and dropping down. That would blow it right there. That's why if everybody goes back and looks at when Dan Severn debuted in the WWF, his opponent was Well, it was Flash Funk, but it was really Too Cold Scorpio. Because we brought Scorpio back for that one night only, even not in name, but in performance. And they worked it like Dan was just a bull and was fucking face palming him and goddamn knocking him out through the ropes with shoulders and just really aggressive like that. That's what you would have to do. You wouldn't want Ronda Rousey to work a wrestling match. You'd want to see Ronda Rousey doing what she does in a wrestling ring. Fuck it. You'd be insane to make her one of the girls.